All right, so let's work on 7-6 day 2. So we talked about day 1 yesterday, and we talked about really just setting up the quadratic formula, solving it, just the discriminant part. So today we're going to finish it out, solve for the whole thing, meaning that we're going to get 2 answers for x. So the first 2 problems here, I'm actually going to rotate this sideways, so that way it shows up better for you guys. So the first one here, and the second one, this would be what you should get to. You want to be able to simplify to this point. And then at this point, I would maybe go into your calculator to help you. So you want to simplify the 2a on the bottom. You want to simplify the discriminant until you have one thing under the square root. And so once we get to that point, I am going to show you how I would type it in. So I'm going to write it out, and I want you to write it out as well. But typing it in, you can also do it in your head too. So here's how it goes. We know that, and for this case, we do know what the square root of 25 is. So it kind of makes it easier. But let's say we didn't. Let's say we are dealing with a square root that we have no idea what it is. So I would write out your 2 answers as 7 plus square root of 25 over 3. Your other answer for x is going to be 7 minus square root of 25 over 3, right? Because we have 2 possible answers, the plus and the minus here. So then what we want to do is I would go into your calculator for this, and I'm going to show you how you can do it on both of your calculators. Maybe, if it'll let me work. Okay. I don't know. Hopefully I'm still recording. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So here are your 2 calculators. The first one was 7 plus square root of 25. So we do know what the square root of 25 is, but again, let's pretend that we didn't. This is how you would type it in, like let's say if you didn't have a perfect square under that square root. Don't type it in all at once. I would do 7 plus, hit your second square root of 25, so same thing here, 7 plus your square root of 25, hit enter. You always want to simplify what's on top first, okay? So simplify what's on top, then divide by the one number that you have on the bottom, then hit divide by 3. Divide by 3. Okay, so there's going to be your first answer, 4. You want to do the same thing again. You want to do 7 minus square root of 25 divided by 3. You're either going to get this decimal, or we know 2 divided by 3 is the same thing as 2/3, right? If you wanted to be able to convert that back into a fraction, you could hit second table, and that's going to convert it back into that 2/3 for you. Same thing over here. If you were wanting to do that, we could do 7 minus square root of 25 divided by 3. Again, we get the decimal. That's fine. I don't care. Or second, you would hit PRB here, convert it back to the fraction. So that is how you need to type these in, okay? Otherwise, you want to simplify. You don't want to type it in all at once. Do top part, simplify, bottom part, simplify. Okay, so that's what I'm going to expect you guys to be doing and calculating on your own. You are going to have to find some of the answers on your own and type things in. Like, I'll ask you questions along the way. So that first one was 4. The second one was 2/3. Okay, so let's try it again over here. In this case, when we do know what the square root is, it actually makes it a lot easier on us. So we can say that it's -4 plus the square root of 16 is really 4 over 2. And our other option is -4 minus 4 over 2. So these would be our 2 answers. So -4 plus 4 is 0. 0 divided by 2 is just 0. -4 minus 4 is -8. -8, I could even simplify that, divided by 2 is -4. Okay, so again, these are our 2 answers. Let's also make sure, I've even forgotten here, but let's make sure that we are putting them in the fancy brackets, because we have 2 answers for x. Okay. So again, let's move on to number 3 and 4. So that was the goal. Like, you want it to look like this, and then it's pretty easy to simplify. Okay, and so number 3 here, we still haven't done the full thing. We haven't done the full thing on our own yet, but let's say that you got it simplified this far. So again, I would write down, I would keep going. I would not start going to your calculator or anything until it looks like these first two problems. So these are kind of like the golden standard. You want your simplification to look like that before you move to your calculator. Otherwise, your calculator may get it wrong. So 2 plus, I have plus or minus 70 minus 6 is 64 over 11. Okay, we do know what the square root of 64 is, so I can break that down even further. This is really 2 plus 8 over 11, and then we also have 2 minus 8 over 11. And so, again, either typing it in, you can do 8 plus 2, but hopefully we know that's 10. So we have 10 over 11, and then 2 minus 8 is negative 6. So we have negative 6 over 11. So there would be your two answers. Negative 6 over 11 and 10 over 11. If you had it as a decimal, that would be fine too. Either way is fine. Okay, so now number 4 looks like what you would have to simplify once you plugged everything into the quadratic formula, which is what we practiced with yesterday. So again, we're working on that simplifying piece. So this is how you want to simplify. You want to simplify your negative or your negative b here. So you can either just write negative b. In this case, we had a negative b, so that really makes it a positive 3 plus or minus. Then, just like we practiced yesterday, you want to type in everything that's under that square root. You want to simplify that. So I can show you one more time on the calculators how to do that. I'll go back to the camera here in case if you missed it yesterday or just were not paying attention. Okay, so typing everything exactly as you see it. Remember, every time we plug a number in, we're putting it in parentheses. So we start out with negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. So there's my first one. Same thing over here. So we're just going to type it in exactly as we see it. Negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. Okay, so we should get 1. Yeah, for both of those. All right. So that, you type that in. And so that's the square root of 1, right? We just simplified the discriminant part, not the actual square root. That's all over 2. So this is now where, if you need to go to the calculator, you can, but this is where we're going to start setting up our two problems. I know the square root of 1 is 1. So that's going to be my first answer. And then I also want to do the 3 minus 1, because again, this is plus minus. We need two answers. So we have 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then I have 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, so there are our answers. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys do a little bit more. I'll help fill in the quadratic format for us. We can work through that together, but then I'm going to have you do some of the simplifying on your own. So we have 2, 3, and 1. That's my A, my B, my C, because this is already in standard form, so I don't have to worry about rearranging anything. So we're going to fill everything in. So we have negative B, so my B is negative 3, so make sure that you are putting that negative 3 there. Plus or minus B squared, so B is negative 3, then minus 4, my A is 2, my C is 1, all over 2 times 2. Okay, so I want you guys now to type in your calculators what the discriminant is, and I want you to simplify that and write your next step. Okay, so hopefully you got that the discriminant was 1, just like last time. So that negative 3 turns into a positive. This is really square root of 1. 2 times 2 is 4. So that's kind of the step. Simplify your negative b situation. Simplify your discriminant still under the square root. Simplify your 2a. Okay, so just kind of step by step rewriting it. All right, so I want you now to, I'll help write these two equations. We should have 3 plus square root of 1, again, is 1 over 4. And then we have 3 minus 1 over 4. Again, we're doing plus or minus. So I want you to simplify these two answers and type them in with a comma separating them. Or if I can't figure out how to make that work, it might be multiple choice. So anyways, just select what the right answer is for your x's. Okay, so hopefully you found 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 over 4 is 1, 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 over 4 is 2 over 4, which can reduce to 1/2. So those were your two answers. All right, the last one here, this is not in standard form, so we really need to pay attention. There's a special note here to rewrite it in standard form. That means we want to subtract 4 from both sides. Okay, so my equation is really x squared plus 2x minus 4 equals 0. So that is going to be important here. My A, my B, my C is really -4, not +4, which I know makes it seem like it's not really going to be that big of a deal, but it is. I promise it does matter. It's going to mess up your discriminant if you don't have the right sign there. Okay, so I'm going to fill everything in. We have -b. My b is 2 plus or minus b squared, so that's 2 squared minus 4. A is 1, C is the -4, all over 2 times A. Again, A is 1. Okay, so what I want you to do now, just like last time, is simplify your discriminant. Type in what your answer is after you simplify. Okay, so I'm simplifying that -b, so that's -2. Hopefully you found that the discriminant was 20. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, so what you can do here, if you want to use your calculator here, that's fine, I really would, just because we will get some decimals. You can leave, in this case, we could technically simplify our square root. Like this could be an answer. You could simplify that square root even more. Remember how we would like find what's a perfect square that goes into 20, pull that out, things like that. That could be one possible answer that you could see on like a multiple choice test. So we could also see it as a decimal. For the sake of this problem, let's just go with the decimal. But I do want you to be aware that you could also simplify these square roots. So I want you to type in your calculator, this part right here. So you're going to do -2 plus square root of 20 over 2. You're going to get an answer. And I want you to do -2 minus square root of 20 over 2. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break these up into 2 separate questions. So give me one answer for the first x for this one right here. So it will be specific. Do this one that I'm circling first. Type in your answer. And then you'll type in your second answer for this simplifying. Round to 2 decimal places. Round to 2 decimal places. Okay, hopefully you found that the first one here was 1.24, and hopefully you found that the answer for the second one was -3.24. Okay, if you have any issues on this, please talk with a neighbor about how they typed it in. You can also ask me tomorrow on how to type it in, but you can also go back to the beginning of this video and look at how I type those things in. Again, make sure you're typing in numerator, hitting enter, then dividing by 2. Type in the numerator, hit enter, then divide by 2. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me.